Hello, my name is Dr. Rhonda M. Wood, and we are broadcasting live here at the Leadership Experience Tour in Detroit, Michigan. I am so excited today because I have as my very special guest the phenomenal Cathy Mott. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Rhonda. I'm so excited to be here. I'm
Yes.
excited.
We are excited as well. Can you tell our audience just a little bit more about who you are and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. So, I'm an executive coach, a leadership coach with a specialty in emotional intelligence.
Mm.
And I go into large organizations and work with individuals to help them become the best leader they can be. And I work with women and even individuals that aren't in corporate America because I always say the first person we lead is ourselves.
Wow.
And so, those who are seeking to be a better leader of their lives and live a life of purpose and intention.
Purpose and
Yes.
intention. Okay.
Yes.
So, what are some ways, if I'm an organization, what are some ways, actually, what are some mistakes that some organizations make when it comes to leadership?
That's a great question.
Mhm.
So typically in the past, leaders have been promoted based on head knowledge.
Wow.
And now more than ever, individuals need an increased emotional intelligence to really relate, inspire, and motivate people. And so,
Wow.
what's important is a lot of organizations have a budget for leadership development and training, and that's where I come in. And my specialty is emotional intelligence. I have worked with large organizations such as Mercedes Benz Financial Services.
Wow.
I have worked with Michigan State University with emotional intelligence, Ascension
Mm.
Health, just to name a few. And most recently, I've worked with Macomb Intermediate School District, training over 100 of their leaders on diversity, equity, and inclusion, but rooted in emotional intelligence.
Wow.
And so, what's so interesting about diversity, equity, and inclusion? Organizations, they know it's the right thing to
Of
do,
course.
but if you ask them how they feel about it,
Mm.
most often they can't express an emotion. They'll say, well, I think it's the right thing to do.
Wow.
And then I'll press a little bit. I say, but what is the emotion you're experiencing behind it? And so that's the work that I'm really doing, tying diversity, equity, and inclusion into emotional intelligence, which really brings about a change. Once I can name the emotion that I'm experiencing around DE and I, then I can make a choice on how to manage it and mitigate it.
Wow. So that's interesting. So we have sort of three areas here. We have leadership,
Yes,
emotional intelligence,
yes,
and then the connection to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
yes.
So tell me, how exactly do all three of those things kind of come together?
It's so wonderful that you asked that question because, like I said, I recently worked with Macomb Intermediate School District, training 100 of their leaders. And then during the process of that, one of the leaders reached out and said that I'm looking for a book for children
Mm.
written by an author of color. We can't find any.
Wow.
So I stepped it to the plate. I wrote my first children's book rooted in emotional intelligence around diversity and inclusion. The title of it is Welcome to Diverse City, a city of love
Wow.
and belonging,
I love that.
right? So, how they all relate together, we know since George Floyd and so many of the injustice that took place,
Yes.
and there was a deeper dive into systemic racism, a lot of organizations recognized that they needed to make a shift. And so, where I come in, instead of just teaching DE and
Mm-hmm.
I create the space for people to actually feel the emotions behind diversity, equity, and inclusion, and
Mm-hmm.
really understand how they feel as individuals and give them the tools to make the needed changes if they so desire. And
Wow.
so they all run line in line in sync with one another, And I have been having such a wonderful time seeing people express themselves. I've been
Mm.
using my 30-day emotional intelligence workbook and asking the participants to work through the 30 different emotions. And then we come back a month later and share. And some of the sharing that has taken place has been
Mm.
absolutely amazing.
Wow. I love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
You have so much knowledge and wisdom. So I'd like to ask you, so you talk about your children's book.
Mhm.
So is that saying that we need to begin implementing these types of things to a younger, generation?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the children's book, the name of the book is Welcome to Diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is Kenya Jones.
Okay.
She's a girl of color.
Okay.
I always wanted my name to be Kenya.
I love
My
it.
maiden name is Jones.
Oh,
And
okay.
she's welcoming a little guy from Poland. His name is Austin Sawicki. And they go into different places within the city. And within the book, there are different emojis where the reader will ask the child, how do you feel about the
Oh,
diversity in the ice cream shop, the shoe store? And then the
wow.
reader will share how they feel. So it's an interactive experience. And what I've noticed, and I share this often, there are over 34,000 emotions a human can experience, but most of us can only name 4 to 6. So if
Wow.
I can only name 4 to 6, then my children are only going to be able to
That's
name four to
wow.
six. So
Wow.
my goal is to help expand the emotional vocabulary of parents, teachers, adults,
Wow.
and children. It's like, how many children do you hear say, if you say, how do you feel? And they say, oh, I feel joy. Very rare. They'll say happy
Right.
because joy is not in their vocabulary.
Right.
And I want to help people expand their emotional vocabulary so they can manage their emotions, which leads to mental health and wellness.
Wow. I love that. Manage their emotional vocabulary.
Yes.
Wow. And all the
Yes.
great benefits that leads to. Wow. So
Hmm.
it sort of starts there.
It does.
Wow. Okay, amazing. So listen, I've also heard the word on the street is that you have a phenomenal presentation that you're about to give on Saturday.
I
I'm just letting you know what I've heard. So, I mean, clearly the rumors are true. So, can you give us just a little teaser about what
Yes.
your speech will be about?
I absolutely can. So, I am talking about emotional intelligence, which is the key to harnessing your personal power and which leads to your definition of success. So, a lot of times we will have experiences in our life and we say, well, I can't do that. But what if you could harness your personal power and
Mm,
be able to move forward? So I'll talk about how do you do that on a regular basis intentionally
wow.
because the number one emotion that I coach for is fear and it holds people back. So it's how to move the fear
Right.
out of the way,
Wow.
harness your personal power and then move forward.
Wow. Cathy, you have been giving us, I mean, just incredible wisdom. So I'm going to ask the question that I know our audience wants me to ask,
Okay.
which is people who want to connect with you,
All right.
people who want to work with you.
Okay.
What's your contact information?
So my contact information, I can be reached on my website, cwcleadershipdevelopment.com. My phone number is 586-864-3844. On Instagram, I'm Cathy Mott Speaks, where I give tips and tidbits about emotional intelligence. And on LinkedIn, I'm Cathy Mott MI. You can link with me in all of those different ways. And my emotional intelligence workbook and my new children's book,
Wow.
Welcome to Diversity, is available on my website and Amazon as well.
Excellent. Okay. Final words for our audience. What would that be?
Final words for our audience is fall in love with yourself. Discover your natural gifts and talents. It all starts with a relationship with yourself, which is rooted in emotional intelligence.
It's all rooted in
Yeah,
emotional
it
intelligence.
is.
Wow. Excellent. Cathy, thank you so much for
Thank
being with us
you.
today. This has been a phenomenal interview.
Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Thank you so
Listen,
much.
folks, you heard it here first. The Leadership Experience Tour. Make sure you tune in on Saturday, either virtually or live here in person in the building. We're at Michigan State University, where you will not only hear from the phenomenal Cathy Mott, but also about 40 other speakers from around the world. You want to be in the room? Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you again,
My pleasure.
Cathy. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.